1. America's self-proclaimed emperor. Believe it or not, America once had a self-styled emperor roaming the streets of San Francisco. In 1859, Joshua Norton, a failed businessman with a grand imagination, proclaimed himself Norton I, Emperor of the United States. No revolution, just a newspaper announcement. He wore a regal uniform, printed his own imperial currency, and even issued decrees, like summarily dissolving Congress, which everyone cheerfully ignored. Yet Emperor Norton became a beloved local legend. Police officers saluted him, and restaurants accepted his funny money as payment for meals, treating him royally in good humor. When Norton died in 1880, penniless, 30,000 people turned out for his lavish funeral. The city gave him a send-off fit for a king. It's a heartwarming reminder that sometimes an entire community can come together to indulge in a whimsical fantasy. Long live Emperor Norton, the only emperor America ever had, and he ruled by love alone. 2. The time Pepsi had a navy. A corporate cola once commanded a better navy than many nations. It all started in 1959, when VP Richard Nixon had Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev try a Pepsi at a Moscow fair, sparking Soviet cravings for the sweet American soda. By 1989, the USSR was hard up for hard currency but desperately wanted to keep that Pepsi flowing. So, in a stranger-than-fiction deal, they traded Pepsi's 17 submarines, a cruiser, a frigate, and a destroyer to quench their thirst. For a brief moment, PepsiCo owned the sixth-largest navy on Earth. The Pepsi Navy never set sail in battle, of course, the company's CEO joked. "We're disarming the USSR faster than you." In a quip to the US government. Pepsi promptly sold the fleet for scrap, sticking to cola wars. This real-life Cold War tale was not a marketing stunt, it actually happened, proving Pepsi's slogan should have been, "Drink Pepsi, get warships." 3. The teen who designed the US flag. The American flag that you know from classrooms and July 4th parades was designed by a 17-year-old as a homework project, and he initially got a B on it. In 1958, as the US prepared to add Alaska and Hawaii, a high school student named Bob Heft stitched together a 50-star flag for a class assignment. His design simply rearranged the stars into the neat rows we see today. It was clean, sensible, and his teacher marked it down for lack of originality. But then, destiny intervened. Heft sent his design to Washington, and President Eisenhower chose it out of 1,500 submissions to be the new US flag. The news came by surprise phone call, and Heft's skeptical teacher promptly changed his grade to an A. Today's Stars and Stripes is literally a student project that outshone the rest. It's a delightful piece of trivia. Sometimes the best ideas are the simplest, and even teachers can be proven wrong. 4. The war over a pig. In 1859, a scuffle over a wandering pig nearly triggered a war between the United States and Britain. The drama unfolded on San Juan Island, when American farmer Lyman Cutlar found a British settler's pig gorging on his potato patch, and he impulsively shot the pig. That rash act sent international tension soaring. British authorities threatened arrest. American troops and British warships converged on the tiny island, both sides bracing for battle over what must be the most trivial casus belli in history. For several nerve-wracking weeks, armed soldiers faced off without opening fire, perhaps thinking, "Is this really worth it?" Cooler heads prevailed and negotiated a peaceful de-escalation. In the end, the only casualty of this near war was the poor pig itself. The incident, famously dubbed the Pig War, ended with an agreement rather than an artillery barrage, a lasting example that diplomacy can win out, even when tempers run hog wild. 5. Teddy Roosevelt shrugged off a bullet. Theodore Roosevelt gave new meaning to the phrase, bullish perseverance. In 1912, while campaigning for president, Roosevelt was shot in the chest by an assassin before a speech. Miraculously, A thick folded copy of his speech and a metal glasses case in his coat pocket slowed the bullet, sparing his life. Blood seeping into his shirt, the 54-year-old Roosevelt astonished everyone. He refused to cancel his speech. Taking the stage, he revealed his blood-stained notes and said calmly, "I have just been shot, but it takes more than that to kill a bull moose," referencing his campaign nickname. The crowd gasped, then erupted in applause. Teddy spoke for 55 minutes straight with the bullet still lodged in him. Only afterward did he go to the hospital. He made a full recovery, and his legendary toughness was cemented in history. The image of Roosevelt literally laughing off a gunshot wound on stage is the stuff of American folklore, an outrageous but true display of grit that's hard to believe even with proof. 6. Andrew Jackson's cursing parrot. Andrew Jackson, America's fiery 7th president, had a parrot with a foul mouth, and it caused a scene for the ages. Jackson's pet parrot, Polly, had learned to imitate his owner's notoriously salty language. Fast forward to Jackson's funeral in 1845. A somber gathering of VIPs in Tennessee suddenly got an earful of profanity from above. Polly the parrot started squawking an unholy string of swear words, loudly and incessantly, right during the eulogy. The shocked ministers tried to carry on, but the brazen bird only cursed more, undoubtedly using Jackson's favorite expletives. It was so disruptive that Polly had to be removed, still cussing vehemently all the way out. Eyewitnesses were scandalized and amused. It's as if old Hickory's spirit was there, cussing everyone out one last time through his feathered friend. This outrageous incident sounds like folklore, but it's well documented. Leave it to Andrew Jackson to even have his pet cause controversy at his funeral. Talk about leaving a lasting impression. 7. Massachusetts' settlers and pirates. In the 1600s, Massachusetts' settlers known as Puritans of New England literally partied with pirates. One notorious incident saw Captain Thomas Cromwell's pirate crew blown into Plymouth Harbor by a storm, stranding 80 rum-swilling buccaneers and a ship full of stolen Spanish treasure on the Pilgrims' doorstep. While some straight-laced colonists were scandalized by the pirates' drunken antics, many locals welcomed the unexpected guests. The swashbucklers spent gold liberally in local taverns and even shared their loot with the poor, to the governor's astonishment. After a few wild weeks, the pirates sailed on to Boston, where they got a hero's welcome. Boston earned the odd reputation of being the common receptacle of pirates from all nations, as one official grumbled. Who would have thought that pious Puritans would raise a tankard alongside outlaws? This unbelievable alliance shows how pragmatism and a pile of gold briefly trumped Puritan propriety. 8. Alligator in the White House tub. One of the craziest pets to ever reside in the White House was a full-grown alligator, courtesy of President John Quincy Adams. The story goes that in 1825 the Marquis de Lafayette visited the U.S. and gifted Adams an unusual token of friendship, a live alligator. Not knowing quite what to do with it, Adams decided to lodge the gator in the White House itself, specifically in the East Room's bathroom that had a big bathtub for it to splash around in. The president gleefully showed off this scaly surprise to guests. Imagine dignitaries being led to the lavatory only to jump back as a 7-foot alligator pokes its head out of the tub. According to legend, Adams loved watching visitors' eyes bug out in shock. The gator reportedly stayed for several months before finally moving on to a more suitable home. It never ate any cabinet members, and it left us with one of the most bizarre yet true anecdotes in White House history, a reminder that sometimes politics can be a real zoo. 9. The Thanksgiving Raccoon. In 1926, President Calvin Coolidge received a Thanksgiving gift that was very much alive, a raccoon intended for the dinner table. The soft-hearted Coolidge family couldn't bear to harm her. Instead, they adopted the furry critter, named her Rebecca, and made her a White House pet. Rebecca the raccoon quickly became a favorite. She had free run of the White House grounds, often walked on a leash by the First Lady and occasionally snuggling into Calvin Coolidge's arms. This little bandit would even join the family for events. She famously attended the Easter egg roll, delighting crowds. Of course, raccoons will be raccoons. Rebecca was mischievous, sneaking into the mansion and scratching at furniture and drapes with her curious claws, much to the staff's dismay. Even so, the Coolidges doted on her, building a custom raccoon house and treating her like American royalty. The idea that the main course became the family pet sounds like a children's story, but it's 100% true. Rebecca lived out her days in VIP comfort, a rare case of a Thanksgiving pardon for a raccoon who won the presidential heart. 10. Boston's Great Molasses Flood. In 1919, Boston's North End experienced a disaster so odd that it sounds like a tall tale, a flood of molasses. A huge storage tank filled with 2.3 million gallons of hot molasses burst, sending a sticky tidal wave through city streets. A wall of syrup 25 feet high tore through the neighborhood at racehorse speed. It crushed buildings, swept people and horses off their feet, and coated the streets in a thick brown glaze. Tragically, 21 people, and many horses, lost their lives in the deluge and its aftermath. The cleanup was an epic battle of man versus molasses. It took weeks to clear the goo, and firefighters had to hose down streets with salt water. For decades later, locals swore the area still smelled like sweet molasses on hot summer days. The Great Molasses Flood is a bittersweet story, quite literally an industrial tragedy that has become a piece of weird Americana. It's hard to believe something so absurd actually happened, but the lingering scent in Boston's air was the real ghost of that sticky day.